Okay, goddamn, son of a bitch. We're doing take 2 here. I filmed this video earlier today, but as some of you probably saw, when I uploaded it to YouTube just a few hours ago, it uploaded with no sound, and I don't know why. So I couldn't fix it, so I just said, fuck it, I'm just going to delete the video and film it all over again and upload it, and hopefully there will be no further problems. Maybe take 2 of the video will turn out better, you know, maybe my anger will bring out a little bit more passion and it'll be a lot more exciting to watch. Who knows? Here's hoping. I don't know. A couple of things before I get into the main topic of the video. Classic match review. The match that won the poll on Twitter was Ric Flair versus Harley Race for the NWA World Heavyweight title in a steel cage at Starrcade 1983. Cool part about that is that classic match review will be tacked on at the end of this video after I get through the main topic. So, yeah, so you got that to look forward to. Nice little bonus at the end of the video. WWE Payback 2017 is happening tonight in just a few hours. I'm not going to bother doing a preview and predictions because, quite honestly, I don't care enough to do one. I didn't even do one in take 1 of the video. I just don't care enough to really talk about that pay-per-view extensively. I'm not even sure why I'm watching it. House of Horrors match will be interesting. I'm very interested in seeing what the fans selected in the survey and what what is going to go into this match. I mean, it doesn't fucking matter. Orton's going to win anyway, but yeah, I'm not expecting too many surprises at this pay-per-view, but who knows? We'll see. I didn't even watch Raw this week. I was too busy watching the Bates Motel finale, which, by the way, Bates Motel, one of the weirdest shows I have ever put time into, because I watched it all the way from the beginning for all 5 seasons up till now, and the first 3 seasons, yes, the first 3 seasons of this show were up and down in terms of quality. Peaks and valleys with some unnecessary subplots that really dragged the show down. Cast was always great. That was never a problem. Vera Farmiga was excellent as Norma Bates. Freddie Highmore, excellent as Norman Bates, to an almost scary level. Like, it was amazing how well he nailed that. You know, and all the other characters were great too. Dylan, Emma, Officer Romero. So the cast was always really good. And they had some elements to it that were really good. The problem was that it would get bogged down with these unnecessary subplots, and the first 3 seasons, as a result, were very, like I said, up and down. But somewhere along the line, seasons 4 and 5, I don't know what happened. It became like one of the best shows on TV, so I can't say I regret sitting through it. It's like, well, the whole experience was worth it because the last 2 seasons were amazing and the finale was great. Because in the back of my mind, I thought, man, wouldn't it suck if, you know, they righted the ship, the last 2 seasons were great, and then they shit the bed in the finale, but they didn't do that. They delivered a very emotional, heartbreaking finale, and I was like, okay, Bates Motel, hit it out of the park. So it's kind of like the anti-Dexter, where Dexter started off strong and then turned into a pile of shit. This show started off with a bunch of problems and then got better and finished very, very strong. Slow and Steady definitely won that race. So, yeah, Bates Motel, I mean, that's my recommendation right there. It's like, yeah, I absolutely recommend watching the show. Unfortunately, you kind of have to start from the beginning, and like I said, the first 3 seasons, I know, first 3 seasons of a show, kind of mediocre, but once it gets there, it's totally worth it. So it's like, it's one of the weirdest shows I've ever, like I said, it's one of the weirdest shows I've ever put time into. So there's my mini review of Bates Motel for those of you who are wondering. But yeah, as a Hitchcock fan and as a fan of the original Psycho, I thought it was great. And it's a remake that actually warrants existing because they didn't just follow the book for Psycho. They didn't just, you know, go step for step what you would have expected out of a prequel to Psycho. It just kind of exists as its own thing, which is what a remake or a reboot should be. And it was, the last 2 seasons were very well done, so it's like, all right, and the finale was great. Totally made the right call watching that instead of Raw. But anyway, moving on from there, like I said, you've got a classic match review at the end of this video, but the main topic right here, I'm going to talk about it again. The whole conundrum or dichotomy of heels that get cheered versus faces that get booed and get hated from the fans. And I'm going to talk about why one is better than the other. And obviously Roman Reigns is a big spark for this discussion because he's essentially the top face in the WWE right now. Cena's basically become a part-timer. He's on the B show, which is SmackDown, which, say what you will. I mean, you could say SmackDown's the better show, but, I mean, SmackDown is the B show. Raw is the flagship, and Roman Reigns is the top guy on that show. So, he is essentially the protagonist of main event storylines. Even though, to be fair, he's been off TV a couple of weeks due to selling the beatdown from Braun Strowman. But, God, it is fucking hot in here. You know, my apartment building, they haven't turned on the air conditioning yet, so I'm just sitting here roasting. But anyway, so Roman Reigns, he's the main focus of the show, main hero, main good guy, and large pockets of the audience hate him. They fucking despise him, and that is a huge problem, and I've talked about it with Cena as well. But you look at any other story, like a movie, television series, book, novel, whatever, if you don't like the protagonist, that's a major problem, and the story doesn't really work. If the Rocky series would not be as effective if I didn't love Rocky Balboa as the hero or as the main protagonist. Movies wouldn't work. And it's funny, when I reviewed Creed, I said Michael B. Jordan deserves a lot of credit, because if that character doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. You could have all the nostalgia beats with Sylvester Stallone all you want, but if that character, if Adonis Creed does not work as a character, then the movie flops. And he did great. He was outstanding. I think, all the talk about African-American actors getting overlooked for Academy Awards, that was one case where I'd be like, yeah, that one, definitely. Where was his recognition on that one? I can think of so many other cases. Star Wars. Everyone loves Darth Vader. I mean, his merch sells like a mint for a reason, but you love Han Solo, you love Princess Leia, you love Luke Skywalker. Yes, he's a little whiny in A New Hope, but you grow to follow Luke's journey throughout the entire trilogy, and if Luke doesn't work as a character, then the movie, the greatest film trilogy of all time doesn't work. Lord of the Rings, you have so many heroes in there: Aragorn, Frodo, Sam, the whole Fellowship, Legolas, Gimli. If those characters are despised, the story doesn't work, especially since the villain is not on screen for most of the movies. More of a, Sauron is just a big eye on top of a tower, so he's not really like a villain in the traditional sense. So you really needed the heroes to be good in that story, because otherwise they're really not going to work. So many other ones. James Bond. People love James Bond. They want to be James Bond. Indiana Jones. People want to be Indiana Jones. Nobody wants to fucking be Roman Reigns. And to use other wrestling examples, whether it be Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, The Rock, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior, some of the biggest names in the history of the business, they all had something appealing about them in one shape or form. Even Cena appeals to the kids. Like, I don't know why. I think a large part of it is, they like him because WWE tells them to, and kids are not that critical and just like whoever you tell them to like. But even Cena, who I've criticized multiple times, the kids like him for whatever reason. So you have that pocket of the fan base that is passionate about John Cena and will cheer for him regardless of what the adult fans and what the adult males fucking say. And Roman Reigns doesn't seem to have that. At best, he'll get a mixed reaction. At worst, he'll get booed out of the building, or in some cases, they'll just get like this mediocre kind of like non-response. I've seen that happen to him sometimes. And really what it comes down to, there's just nothing likable about him. Personality-wise, he's not... some people criticize his ring work. I don't think he's a terrible worker, but he's not the greatest worker on the planet either, so he doesn't have that going for him. He doesn't have the indie cred like a Daniel Bryan would or CM Punk would. He doesn't have like a larger-than-life personality. He's just generic, stoic, badass guy that's kind of a dick to people, which is why it would work best as a heel, but that's neither here nor there. And the fans just don't gravitate to him. They don't like him that much, and as a result, you get these kind of lackluster responses, and because of that, the stories don't work. He got his fucking ass kicked at the hands of Braun Strowman in one of the best produced segments WWE's done all year. Made Braun look like a beast, but he also came out of it looking like the hero because the fans were fucking chanting, "You deserve it," and all this other nonsense, not nonsense, but all this other craziness at Roman Reigns, and it's like the fans just don't like him, and that part of the story doesn't work, and it actually hurts Braun in a way because he's not getting any heat for it. It's just like, yeah, cool, Braun Strowman almost killed that guy we don't like. It's insane. And that's the problem. When you have a protagonist that doesn't work, your stories don't work. And the flip side of that is if you have a heel that gets cheered, and I'll use AJ Styles as an example, even though I think turning him heel was ignorant on WWE's part, because it's like, how the fuck am I supposed to hate AJ Styles? Cheering a heel, which some people have said is a bad thing, really isn't, or at least not to the degree that being a booed babyface is, because... you know, if you look at, again, looking to movies and TV shows and books and all that other stuff, people love bad guys. People love the Joker. People love Darth Vader. I mean, like I said, his merchandise sells like a mint for a reason. It's cool to be bad, and liking villains kind of taps into that whole part of our psyche where we all want to do bad things. We all want to act in an uninhibited way. But we can't get away with it, so we kind of live vicariously through the people that can do those things, or want to do those things. So there's a certain like enjoyment and catharsis through enjoying a bad guy, whether it be Darth Vader, the Joker. Hans Gruber, great example. Alan Rickman, one of my favorite performances was him as Hans Gruber in the original Die Hard. He is the perfect action movie villain, the template for which all other action movie villains should be measured. Is so much fun to watch him because he's so villainous, he's so intelligent, and he's so, like, he enjoys what he's doing. And, they made his theme song Ode to Joy, which is just perfect. And, he's cocky, he's arrogant, he's charismatic, he's funny, he's chilling and cold, and all these other different things, and he is so much fun to watch. However, my appreciation of Hans Gruber and my appreciation of Alec Rickman in that role in no ways hinders my enjoyment of John McClane and me wanting John McClane to beat him. That's a perfect case of where you have a great villain that I enjoy going up against a great hero that I want to see beat him. So that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, where you have a great protagonist that makes the story work, and it just so happens the villain he's trying to take down is enjoyable to watch as well, so it's like a bonus. Again, same thing with wrestling. If you put AJ Styles as a heel up against Shane McMahon, it's not that bad, because Shane's a likable guy. I like Shane. I like Shane McMahon. He's my favorite one of the McMahon family, and he's got a unique charisma to him, so it didn't hurt the match that pockets of the fan base were cheering for AJ, and you got kind of the dual chance going. Because I didn't feel like it was hindering Shane, or I didn't feel like I was having a hero shoved down my throat that I didn't like. I like Shane, but I like AJ too, so I was just able to enjoy the match for what it was. Now you put AJ Styles as a heel up against John Cena or Roman Reigns. I'm going to laugh at you because I hate John Cena and I hate Roman Reigns. So AJ is just going to be the babyface in my eyes. I don't care what you can have him eat a baby. And I'd be like, nope, still rooting for AJ. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. It's like, yeah, I don't care. Money in the Bank 2011, perfect example where they desperately wanted Punk to be the heel. And I'm like, that's so not going to work. I'm like, nope. Because it was so obvious that they wanted Punk to kind of be the heel in that situation. I'm like, yeah, no, we're all going to cheer for Punk. I'm like, I know it was in Chicago, but you could have had that match in any other city, and they still would have cheered for Punk, I'm convinced. Because it was just, come on, how could you hate him? He was great. But yeah, if you have a protagonist that doesn't work, the story doesn't work, because the story is told from their point of view, the story is focused on them, and the story is about their journey to get to this point and to ultimately overcome something and grow as a character. If I don't like the character, then I don't care. It's one of the reasons I never gave Twilight much of a chance. I saw the first movie. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I hate Bella as a character. I think she's a sociopath. A story that's filled with vampires and werewolves, and she is the true monster of the whole thing. It is unbelievable how horrible that character is, and because of that, it's like, no, I'm good. I don't need to watch the rest of Twilight. I watched the first movie with my sister, who only wanted to watch it with me just to see my reaction, because she had already seen it, and she was like, oh, Patrick is gonna hate this, and she was right, and it was so bad. But Yeah, that's really my take on the whole thing. So what do you guys think down below about cheered faces or cheered heels and booed baby faces, and is it a problem? Is it something that WWE needs to deal with? Is it like even worth worrying about? I don't know. WWE's case, probably not, because they're kind of victims of their own success, where they're so big in their own industry that it's like it really doesn't matter what they do. Look, Jinder Mahal is about to become WWE champion, and that dude's been a jobber his whole career. It's like, look, they don't care. Like they can do whatever the fuck they want. It's just just how it is. Just how it is. But I've said it before, especially with Roman Reigns. It's like, look, you got so much heat on this guy, especially coming out of WrestleMania. The reaction he got the next night after WrestleMania should have told them. It's like, look, just turn the guy heel. I mean, you'd have the hottest heel on the planet. And again, because some people have said, it's like, well, if they turn him heel, then the fans are just going to cheer him. I'm like, okay, I've already outlined that being a cheered heel is not that bad of a thing. Not as bad as being a booed babyface. And the flip side of that is that you can eventually turn Roman Reigns face again, and you get what you wanted originally anyway. So it's like, huzzah, you got there. Again, look at what happened to The Rock. Could you imagine if back in the day, Rocky Maivia is getting die, Rocky die chants and Rocky sucks chants, and they didn't change it? They just kept running with him as Rocky Maivia. They didn't evolve him into The Rock. Could you imagine that? It's kind of a scary thought, because it's like, oh my god, we'd have gotten that lame asshole as the top guy next to Stone Cold Steve Austin instead of The Rock. That sucks, but there you go. So that's really the end of my major topic for today's video. Hopefully Take 2 worked out a little bit better than Take 1. We'll never know. You guys will never know what Take 1 looked like, but anyway. Classic match review. Like I said, I am reviewing Ric Flair versus Harley Race for the NWA World Title Steel Cage match. It's the very first Starrcade in 1983. I'm going to be reviewing this match again, but I don't mind talking about this match again because really, and I think as far as my classic match reviews go, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the oldest match I've reviewed. So we're going a little way back here. And it's one of those matches that is truly historically significant. It's one of those, like, bucket list matches that every wrestling fan should watch. Not as a guarantee that it'll become every fan's one of their favorite matches, but more as, like, an important, like, bookmark or footnote in the history of professional wrestling. It's like, look, this was the match. Even though Flair had already been world champion prior to this, when Race put him over and put the belt on him, this was really the moment that put Flair on the map and really solidified him as a true main event star and solidified him as one of the best world champions of the 1980s. It was also the first main event of Starrcade, which would pretty much set the bar for major supercards. It's funny, you look at WrestleMania now and what it's become, they really follow the template of the original Starrcade more closely than they do the template for the original WrestleMania. The original WrestleMania was basically just a regular MSG card with celebrities thrown in. Starrcade was the match was the card with all the matches, with all the build-up, and this was like the conclusion to and the climax to all of that. Flair and Race had been feuding for a long time prior to that, with Race setting the bounty on Ric Flair to prevent him from getting back into the title picture and all that other stuff. So this was the payoff to it. Piper and Valentine, this was the payoff to their feud, doing the dog collar match. And that strategy or that format has been adopted a lot more closely in more modern WrestleManias than the original WrestleMania has. I'm not saying they always do it well, as if you've seen some of my WrestleMania reviews. They don't always do it well, but they're trying to follow more closely to the Starrcade format than they do the original WrestleMania format. But going over the match itself, yeah, it wasn't that good. I'm being harsh. It hasn't aged very well. It was a very, kind of slow and plodding match. It didn't have the... And I love watching old school cage matches because they are more intense and they are more violent and they are more, like, indicative of what a steel cage match should be, instead of, like, the spectacle type of match that they've become. I like the more brutal, down and dirty, gritty, violent style of the 80s. And you look at the Magnum TA Tully Blanchard match from 2 years later at Starrcade 85. That one was a lot more intense and a lot more violent and a lot more, like, oh my god, like, they're more, like, fulfilling kind of the bloodthirsty nature in all of us. I thought that match did a much better job of doing this. This one was just kind of, just kind of an ordinary match with some blood and a couple shots into the cage, and then they did the finish, and that's it. And the special guest referee got involved a little bit too much. There were too many times where he was breaking up what Flair and Race were doing, and would like try to rip them off of each other and hold each other. I'm like, dude, it's a cage match. Just let him go. Fuck. I mean, he didn't reach like Roddy Piper levels at WrestleMania 11, where he just kept screaming into the mic every 5 minutes. But when the referee becomes noticeable, that's a problem because it really detracts from the match. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about this match. I think there are other matches from the original Starrcade that are that have aged better. I already mentioned Piper and Valentine in the dog collar match. I like that match a lot more. That one's just, again, it's just sick, gritty, violent, kind of like a precursor to like ECW almost, the style of violence that was brought in that match. But yeah, this match, it was just kind of an ordinary cage match, and I was a little, it hasn't aged well, unfortunately, and it's one that's, to be honest, has never been one of my favorite matches, but like I said, it's the historical significance that makes it required viewing. I don't think it's a bad match. I just think, when you think of like how historically significant it is, and the fact that it's the main event of like this first major supercard, and you look at it, it's like, that was it? Okay. I mean, even Hogan Andre gave us like a moment for the ages where Hogan slammed Andre, and that match, you know, people have criticized that match for barely doing anything. But yeah, this, you know, the finish of the match was a little sloppy. Flair came off the top rope with a crossbody, which, cool, Flair can hit a top rope move. You know, it's very rare that he would do that. But yeah, he hit him with the crossbody and hit him with the pin, but it was a little sloppy the way they executed it, and it was, I don't know, it was not the best match, but it did everything it needed to do in terms of getting Flair in position to take over as like the top guy. And that was the goal of the match, and that's what it did. So I can't fault it for that. Flair was the babyface here. I personally feel like Flair works much better as a heel, especially when you look at his matches with like Steamboat and Sting and Savage at WrestleMania 8. He just, I don't know, Flair just works better as a heel, I think. Just that Weasley, cheating, son of a bitch heel. I think that's better, more suiting to Flair's personality and his style. But, yeah, this, like I said, the match, not the greatest ever. It's okay. Like, if it were any other cage match, I would have probably been a little nicer to it, but considering its historical significance and its, you know, and all the other attributes that make it such an important match, I was a little disappointed rewatching. I'm like, huh, I don't, it's like, huh, that was it? It's like, okay. I don't know. There's certain matches that hold up really well over time. You know, I think Brett and Austin at WrestleMania 13 holds up very well. And I think what that match has and what the Magnum TA Tully Blanchard cage match from 85 has, those two matches have that intensity where you really feel like both guys are trying to kill each other. I never felt like this match quite achieved that. I felt like they were trying to do it, but it didn't quite work. And I like both guys. I mean, I've said before, Flair's not my number one favorite of all time, but he's high up there. I mean, he's Ric Flair. He's great. Harley Race I've always liked. He always struck me as one of the legit tough guys in the business. Like, you just look at him, it's like, I would not want to fuck with that guy. He just looks like somebody who could rip my face off. But I don't know, something about this match didn't click with me as well as it has with others. I've seen a lot of reviews of this match where they give it like 4 stars, so what do I know? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But anyway, that's my review of this match. Yeah, even though I'm not totally sold on it as being one of my favorites or anything, it is one that I do recommend people watching. I recommend people watching the first Starrcade in general. It's a very historic event and should be watched. It's one of the, like I mentioned, a bucket list. It's one of the shows that every wrestling fan should watch. And hey, they're all on the network now, so you can watch a bunch of these old classic shows that weren't originally available to us in their entirety for a long time. And that's the cool thing about the WWE Network. Is like, oh, I can go back and watch all the Starrcades again. Oh, I can go back and watch the Clash of Champions and all that other great stuff. But yeah, that's all I have for you now. I think I've rambled enough. Hopefully this one worked and we get sound and the video turns out okay and I don't blow a fucking blood vessel getting angry at my technology and throwing my computer and my laptop out the window or anything crazy like that. But yeah, that is all I have for you now. I guess if you want, go ahead and enjoy Payback. I can't imagine there were too many people that excited about the show, but hey, what do I know? Maybe they'll surprise us and it'll be an okay show. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I have for now. I will be back next week with more content, but until then, y'all have a good one.